everyone. I hope you had a great week last week. This week we are going to look at lessons 37 through 40, so let's get started. This week you're going to need your lessons manual, the student worksheets, the math card games manual and the game cards, the AL abacus, the appendix page 1, which is the short multiplication table like this, the math balance, and the dry erase board. This is assessment week. So most of what you're going to be doing this week is preparing for the assessment and then taking the assessment. Turn to lesson 37. If you have a book that was printed in 2015 or before, there is a correction for that lesson. You'll want to double check our corrections page and then make sure your materials reflect all of the changes that have been made. Go ahead and look at the explanations at the very top of the first page of the lesson. It says, this lesson is a review of concepts learned so far. It is designed to prepare the child for the upcoming assessment lesson. So you're going to want to give your child worksheet 23 and start the assessment by giving the first 3 verbal problems. The directions do say that you can read the problems 2 times, and I always encourage you to have your child repeat that problem back so it helps them remember the problem before they start solving it. If you have a struggling learner, you can go ahead and write those problems on a whiteboard. Under the explanations, it also says that the child can use the abacus where needed. That being said, you may want to encourage your child to try to work on through many of the problems as possible without using it, just so you can see where your child might need further work and further review. Once your child has completed the worksheet, check and review the worksheet with your child. Have them explain to you how they got the answers so you can see what they struggled with, whether they struggled with just the calculations or if they struggled with the processes to get to the answer. If your child struggled with the concepts, you're going to want to review the lessons that covered those concepts. Here's a breakdown of the lesson material and the problems on the worksheet. If your child missed the problem 109 minus 10, you can go ahead and review lesson 7. If your child missed the 9 times 6 problem, review lesson 19. If your child missed the 42 divided by 6, you can review lesson 22 to review the multiples of 6, or lesson 35 to review the concept of division. If your child struggled with problems 10 and 11, you can review lessons 3, 4, 5, and 6. If your child struggled with problems 13 and 14, review lessons 7, 8, and 9. For the problems 14 through 23rd, you're going to want to find a lesson that covers the particular struggle you had. And here's sort of a breakdown. If your child struggled with their multiples of 4, you can look at lesson 15. If they struggle with multiplying a number with 1, you can look at lesson 16. If your child struggled with their multiples of 8, look at lesson 17. If they struggle with their multiples of 9, look at lesson 19. And if they struggle with comparisons overall, look at lesson 31. For problems 25 through 28, if they struggle with those problems, review lesson 15. If your child struggled with problem 29, review lesson 30. Now, the problems for 30 through 47, you're going to again want to review the lessons based on the topics they struggled with. So if they struggle with order of operations or the usage of parentheses, take a look at lesson 36. Again, if they struggle with the comparison concepts, look at lesson 31. If your child struggled with division or factoring, you can review lessons 34 and 35. And if they struggled with just simply missing factors, take a look at lesson 34. If your child struggled with problem 48, you can review lessons 29 and 31. And if your child struggled with problem 49, review lessons 3, 4, and or 5. If your child struggled with problem 50 with the concept of perimeter, review lesson 29. But if they struggled with problem 50, particularly with parentheses, review lesson 36. Some of the problems on this worksheet will combine concepts from different lessons to help them kind of put everything together. This will stretch their thinking a little bit, and it will also help you determine what your child understood and what you might need to help them learn a little bit deeper. There is not a math card game listed for this lesson. You will want to review the lessons that cover the material your child struggled with. If you notice that your child had a lot of calculation errors, then you're going to want to play a math card game or two that will help strengthen up those math facts. If your child did very well on this worksheet, great job. Go ahead and pick a multiplication math card game to play. All right, well, let's go ahead and turn to lesson 38 and take a look at the explanation sections with me. It says, this lesson is a review of concepts learned so far by playing games. It is designed to prepare the child for the assessment in the next lesson. For this lesson, you're going to play 3 math card games. You're going to want to play these games for 5 to 10 minutes or as long as you need to give your child the confidence they need for the assessment in lesson 39. The first game that's played is Addition War with 3 cards. Now this is just like the Addition War that you've played before. We have a blog for it online on our website. The difference is you will actually turn 3 cards over instead of just 2. The next game to play is called Zero Corners, and it is played just like Corners, which we also have a blog for and you have played before. The difference for this game is in the scoring. Instead of starting at 0 and adding up, the score is actually calculated by subtracting from 500, and the first one to 0 wins. Now, you do not necessarily need to start at 500. You can actually start at 200 or 300 or 450, whatever you choose to start with. 500 is a nice round number, but start at the number that you want to start with to make the game go as long as you need it to. The final game for this lesson is Find the 2 Factors, which you played last week. Now, for each section under the game heading, there are some warm-up questions which will help prepare your child to play the game. Now, in addition to playing the card games, you will want to review some of the lessons covering material your child might have struggled with in the review lesson 37. All right, well, let's turn to lesson 39. If your book was printed in 2009 or 2019 or before, there is a correction again for this lesson. So check our website under the corrections page and make sure you have the correct materials before you get started. Lesson 39 is assessment day. So make sure that your child works on this lesson when they are mentally fresh. Set your child up for success. The problems on this assessment are very similar to the problems provided on the review lesson. There is not a math card game listed for today. If your child struggled with a concept on the assessment, you can again review the lesson or lessons that covered that material. If your child struggled with the accuracy or with their math facts, then you're going to want to play some math card games that will work on those math facts that they did struggle with. Okay, well, let's turn to lesson 40. This is the first lesson where you are going to use the math balance. My kids absolutely loved the math balance. Now, if this is your first time using the math balance and you have not assembled it, let me go ahead and give you a little bit of instructions on how to do that. Your math balance comes in 3 pieces: the base, which has the hole in it, the arm, and the balance bar. Now, what you're going to want to do is look first at the bottom of the base. At the bottom of the base, I've already pulled mine off, but it has a plastic baggie that will have the pin, the attachment pin, and 4 counterweights. Now, your colors might be a little different. That's okay. What you're going to want to do is take your balance arm and slide that into the base. And then you're going to take the balance bar and line this little hole up with the hole inside the balance arm. And then slide your pin in. Once you have your pin inserted, then you will attach these little counterweights. Now you can use all 4 of them. You can use 1 of them, however many it takes to get this arm or the balance bar to balance. And so what you're going to want to do is slide this on the bottom of the balance bar. I can't get mine on. Like this. Now, sometimes you'll need a whole bunch of them on one side. Sometimes you just need to slide them in various places on there, but you'll want to make sure that it balances. Now, sometimes the balance bar still doesn't want to balance. So one thing you can do is put one or more here on the side, on either side, or on the top, and that will also help the balance to work. The warm-up section for this lesson will have questions which your child will need to remember their order of operations. So you may want to review the order of operations with your child prior to starting the warm-up section on their worksheet. If your child has not used the math balance before, let them explore and play with it for a few minutes to help them see how it works. Once your child is comfortable with the math balance, go ahead and start the section called Reviewing the Math Balance. Here, you're going to have your child put a weight on the left 10 peg, and then you're going to have them put 2 weights on one of the pegs on the other side of the balance. Just so you know, they're going to end up putting 2 weights on the 5 peg. Then they're going to write an equation showing that on the whiteboard. So they're going to write 5 times 2. So 5 times 2, there's 2 pegs on the 5 number equals 10. Then you're going to have your child add another weight to the 5 peg and solve on the other side, which is 15. And then again, write the equation 5 times 3 equals 15. By the way, I had my kids practice their multiplication math facts by using the math balance. My kids absolutely loved the math balance, as I said before, and it was a really fun way to practice. Again, I would always have my child say the problems out loud. So they would put like 1 weight on the 5, and they would say 5 times 1 equals 5. And then put another weight on the 5, 5 times 2 equals 10, another weight on the 5, 5 times 3 equals 15, and so forth. And by them playing on the math balance and saying those math facts out loud, it really helped them learn those multiplication math facts. Now, on the top of the second page, your child is going to be building and solving more complex equations. Make sure they are paying attention to the order of operations. So let's take a look at the problem that says 7 plus 4 times 2 equals 10 plus something. Now here your child is going to start with the multiplication portion. They are going to put 2 weights on the number 4 and then 1 weight on the number 7. Then on the other side, they're going to start with 1 weight on the 10, and they're going to find out what they need to add to the 10 to make the math balance, which they're going to find out they're going to need to add another 5 to make that math balance. Now, once your child has completed these activities, go ahead and give them worksheet 25 and have them use the math balance to complete the worksheet. One problem that might be a little difficult for them is the 2 times 6 plus 8 times 2. Make sure your child puts 2 weights on the 6 and 2 weights on the 8 to solve. The math card game listed in the explanation section is Lowest in the Corners game, P18. And we do have a blog for this game. It's called Winter Games Lowest in the Corners. And this blog has a video showing you how to play the game, so it'll be fun to watch. Now that is the last lesson for this week. However, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the biggest questions we get for level D from our families. And that is, when should my child have mastered their multiplication math facts? Well, there's not one easy answer for that question. It depends on your child. Some children pick up their multiplication math facts fairly quickly. So you may have already noticed that your child knows many or maybe all of their multiplication math facts. And if that's the case, great. Just keep reviewing them throughout the year. Most children, however, will learn their multiplication math facts sometime during the year while working on level D. The best way to learn multiplication math facts is to faithfully playing those math card games. What I did was I would just pick a multiplication math fact family for the week and just spend the week focusing on that one multiplication math fact family. At the end of the week, my child would have those math facts down fairly well. And then the following week, I just picked another math fact family. Faithfully playing these math card games and focusing on one math fact family a week, your child will have those multiplication math facts down probably in several months. Now, if you have a struggling learner in your home, like I have two in my home, they will struggle with their multiplication math facts, especially if they have a condition that makes memorization very difficult, like dyslexia, dyscalculia, memory deficiency, etc. These kiddos will most likely struggle with those multiplication math facts all year long. And in fact, it may take the next couple years working on and learning their multiplication math facts, depending on the severity of their struggle. I had one child who learned their multiplication math facts in just a few months, my strong learner, and I have two struggling learners who literally took 2 or 3 years to learn them. Work with your child and their ability, and just keep plugging away. Keep playing those math card games. One other thing I did with my struggling learner is to have a math fact of the day. And I would just ask my kids all day long what the specific math fact is, like say 8 times 7. I would say, what is 8 times 7? And it would be in the middle of breakfast. It would be in the middle of a science class. It'd be while they're playing on the trampoline. It would be while they're watching TV, whatever it was. I tried to make it very silly and very funny as much as I could. I put it on toaster strudels, whatever it was. I try to keep it fresh. And I asked those questions all day long. And by the end of the day, they had the 8 times 7 down. Keep playing those math card games. Don't quit. That's where your child is going to learn and master their multiplication math facts. If you don't put in the effort now, then at the end of the school year, you and your child will be frustrated. But if you keep playing those math card games, your child will get those multiplication math facts. That's it for the week. As always, if you have any questions or concerns about a lesson, or if your child is struggling with something, or you're concerned about them learning their multiplication math facts, give us a call or email us. We are here to help. Have a fabulous week. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week when we go over lessons 41 through 44. Bye, everybody.